Hello, my name is Chris Fleck with Oxenane. This message today is for anyone in the United States that's a commercial or a residential business property owner, or somebody that knows them or works for them that has a cost basis of as low as $200,000, who wants to increase their cash flow at no additional investment for you up front. In addition, this little 15-minute message is for CPAs that want to leverage their time to add value for their commercial and residential property owners, customers that they serve as clients. Oxenane is a Greek word to increase, and we get to fractionally represent Craig Wanamaker and Cost Segregation Services. Craig, please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity today in terms of getting a chance to share what we're about. My name is Craig Wanamaker, resident of Mendota Heights, Minnesota. Basically grew up in Minnesota. I been married, 46 years. This next week, we do an anniversary. I have had the opportunity to be able to use my values, my standards as a Christian in terms of serving others. I have a background in loan origination. I have a background in real estate, background in finance. Probably my real calling is I've been an ordained pastor for over 40 years. So I want to find opportunities in which I can serve and help others. And one day I got introduced to something called Cost Segregation with Cost Segregation Services Incorporated. And I had to see it a couple times to understand this is everything that I had been prepared for. Do you remember Esther, 4:14, where Mordecai comes and says, hey, for such times as this, right now, especially in the midst of what's going on with COVID-19, this is a special time. You're here to serve others. We have an organization that is a corporate office out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We've done over 27,000 of these studies and never triggered an audit. We are considered one of the foremost experts when it comes to providing the calculations to the business owners and to their tax professionals. And that's what we do, is we work with business owners, whether it's a commercial building or a residential investment, and we work with your tax professionals in order to save you money on your income taxes. And the part that's kind of nice is that we start out with a free no-cost analysis. There is nothing involved cost-wise unless you see the benefit of what we have to offer. And then we can talk about what an engagement letter would do and how this would benefit you. If you agree with it, it's great. It's not for everybody, but it certainly has worked with quite a few clients that I've worked with lately. So, and by the way, we believe in relationships first more than anything. So hopefully we could establish a relationship along the way.
Craig, I love your heart, and I love how you take care of people. So, cost segregation can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. There's been a lot of changes through the year, especially with the upcoming CARES Act. But just briefly, can you summarize what is cost segregation, and why should somebody use somebody like you versus just depending on somebody that covers a lot of different things in the marketplace?
Okay. If you don't mind, I'd like to start first with the story. There was a gentleman named Ira Yates back in the 1930s, bought a portion of land in the western part of Texas. His focus, his plan was to raise sheep. And so that's what he focused on. The problem was, it was kind of that area with the Depression, and they were struggling. The whole family was struggling. He had to get government subsidy to feed his family, put clothes on his kids. Things just weren't going well, and he would day to day just figure out how he's going to get through the day. Suddenly one day somebody showed up and said, would you mind if we drilled for oil? And he goes, what? He said, yeah, we just out in the area. And he said, sure, give it a shot. They signed a quick lease and started drilling 1,100 feet down. They found one of the largest oil reserves they've ever found in the United States. It's called the Yates Pool. Here he was a millionaire, but living in poverty. And the main problem was he just didn't know, wasn't aware. He didn't know it was there. The reason I tell that story is when people buy, lease, contract for deed, either a commercial building, residential investment, they have something available to them called depreciation. Everybody has it available. And what they're not aware of is that this is a great opportunity for them in order to develop cash flow. And instead of drilling, we just do a pre-analysis. And instead of finding oil, we find extra cash flow in terms of reclassifying a building down to 5, 7, or 15 years rather than 27 and a half for residential or 39 years for commercial. The problem is, again, people just aren't aware of it. And I'd suggest that probably 1 out of 50 people I talk to have any idea what I'm talking to. Sometimes it's even the tax professionals. So what we want to do is come alongside of these people and say, hey, we want you to know what we're about, why we're doing this, and let's see if it's a fit for you.
That sounds really exciting, and we can all use increased cash flow, Craig. So tell us briefly, how does this work?
All right. So what we do is we provide engineer-based studies for your building. We come in and do a site survey and some further documentation, which is pretty minimal amount of items. We go through and reclassify as much as we can of your building into a shorter lifetime. We take and use advantage of lots of the latest rules, laws, regulations, and apply them. The neat thing is that if we come in, we will find probably between 4 to 10% of your building's value within the first 5 years of ownership that becomes cash flow. So that'd be like $40,000 to $100,000 per $1 million of cost basis of your building. Doesn't take long for that to add up. And what it does, hopefully, is it changes your attitude about your building. Is it a tool or is it an investment? What I mean by that is if your building is just a tool, it's a place where you house your people, you house your products or your services. It's a place to meet. If it's an investment, you've taken and been able to bring out by way of the depreciation, accelerated depreciation, cash flow, which then you can reinvest. And you can either buy more products, pay for more services, hire more people, pay down your loan, all sorts of opportunities for you in order to invest in your business.
It sounds exciting, Craig. Tell us a little bit about the Tax Cut Jobs Act 2017, as well as the CARES Act of 2020, and how this might apply to listening audience, whether they're a CPA or a commercial or residential property owner.
Okay. Well, CSSI was started back in 1997. It was a health entity that had about an $800 million tax problem. In the midst of trying to find a solution, they came up with something called cost segregation, working along with the IRS. We began to then apply it to all other organizations, other situations that were going on. 2001, I know CSSI was established, and we would go out and work with the various people. Along came, let's say, 2014, something called the TPRs, Tangible Property Regulations, or repair regs. Those were a series of regulations that would determine whether you should expense something or you should capitalize it, depending on if you did your repairs, remodeling, renovations. Then in 2017, something very significant came along. It was called the Tax Cuts Jobs Act. What it did is allowed people, especially at that point, to do 100% bonus depreciation on your building if it was new to you after September 27th of 2017. Also, it allowed various changes for Section 179, some of those other items. And if you have more interest, we'll have a conversation about that. But then in 2020, right now, just this last year, they came up with the CARES Act. And part of it involves the idea that we can do a 5-year carryback. So if you've got extra net operating losses that more than take care of your taxes now, then you can go back and apply it to 5 years in the past moving forward. And those turn into tax rebates. And I know most people, when I read the paper, I look at articles or whatever, cash flow is huge for them right now. So not only do we can get you tax relief, but we can also get you tax refunds.
So, Craig, let's say I'm a commercial residential property owner, I'm a CPA, and I've got a pool of clients that are that type of client, but I'm too busy or I don't know the details the way you or some of your associates at Cost Segregation Inc. know it. Let's say they reach out to me, an Oxenane rep, and I qualify them and I find out, yep, that's really who they are, and we pass on this referral to you, Craig. What's your process? How do you move forward?
All right. Well, the first thing we do is we kind of start with an issue called awareness. I want them to understand does this make sense to them? If I can apply all of these rules, regulations to them, whether they've owned the building in the past, in the present, in terms of just now building it or purchasing it, or maybe they're looking to purchase something in the future, I then would provide a no-cost analysis, and that would provide them with an estimate of their tax savings plus the fees that would be involved. The analysis is really pretty basic. If you've owned something in the past, all I need is a depreciation schedule. I need to know the type of building. I need to know your tax rate, and that's pretty much it. I can come back with an analysis. If not, if it's something that does not have a depreciation schedule because it's so new, there's about 6 to 10 questions I'll ask, and then turn around, have the analysis, and it's very quick and pretty effective. I would say 98% of the time, the estimate I give you, we will either match it or we will surpass it. That's pretty effective. Just so you know, too, when you're involved with this, if we ever do talk about fees, they happen to be a business write-off. So that's all to your benefit as well. On the average, an ROI of your fees to your findings, I want at least 8 to 1 at the minimum, maybe 10 to 1. I'm finding them as high as 55 or 60 to 1. Those are awfully large projects, but my goodness, there's such a return for what we provide. And when you are talking to me, you're not just dealing with myself, but a whole series of, or a whole group of individuals in our home office. They happen to be tax professionals, they happen to be engineers, and they happen to be our project managers that work with us. By the way, when we are working with them too, and I mentioned the tax professionals, we are not there to compete with the tax advisors, your tax CPAs, whatever. We are there to partner with them, to complement them, help them along.
I love win-wins, Craig, and I love helping people find money for cash flow. I think that's very exciting and good news for everybody. So do you have any success stories or testimony that you could share with us, Craig?
Yeah, I'd like to share 2 of them. They add up rather quickly. There was a gentleman in the area, and he is a restaurant manager who turned around, bought his own restaurant, and then he ran his restaurant out of that same facility. When we first did the estimate, I told him within the next several years we'd get him $51,000. After we did the study, we came back and said, nah, I guess not. We're going to get you $84,000 worth instead. So not only, at first he was reluctant until he figured that out. Well, then he came back with a second portion that he built in his basement, and that was for another business that he ran out of there. We had promised him 18, and we got him $22,000 worth. So that was a great opportunity in terms of helping these people. Very, very, very pleased with the results. This other next situation is rather unique because these are people I've been acquainted with for quite a while. I had helped them in terms of conventional mortgages, etc., and so I knew them that way. But we started talking to them, and they owned a veterinarian clinic and an office building right next door. We came to them. We made an estimate of about $34,000. Instead, we got them $69,000 at that time. Then they turned around, keeping that building. They built a whole new facility for over $3 million, about $3,600,000. I promised them that I couldn't promise, but I gave them an estimate of $350,000 of tax savings. By the time we were done, we got them $504,000 worth. Those are opportunities that, you know, make it so satisfying. You feel like you've really accomplished something to help people. The nice part too about these 2 individuals, the place that they built or purchased is also the place they do their business out of. And the very first year, if you will go in and declare an item, it makes it so that they can make a lot larger tax benefits. Integrate. It's called grouping. And it's something that has to be done immediately when they do their first filing. Otherwise, it's you use it or lose it. And these have been tremendous opportunities for these people. I mean, it really made a difference in terms of greater assistance in helping them in terms of their tax savings.
Super. Craig, thank you so much for your time, and thank you, listening audience. If this has resonated with you, or if you're a new owner of some of these types of facilities and you want to take advantage of this just to get a free look, please don't hesitate. Give me a call, 612-695-9176, or look at the data on this screen. Our website, auxanein.com, spelled AUXANEIN.com, or email us at info@auxanein.com. This is Chris Fleck with your Auxanein Brief. Until next time, be well.